morning and welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host Anne, and Disembodied Hands, Quindy, Justin, and John. How are you all today? One of your D&D group thinks they got the plague. Yeah. So guess what? My significant other has now tested positive with the plague after he tested it after like 5 days of being sick. So I don't. I'm negative. But it's been kind of chaotic this morning. But yes, it means he's stuck at home for another 3 days or 4 days. Yes, I'm in the house with COVID. I'm hearing it cough in the other room. It's a good thing I have a good immune system. Hey, Lieutenant Floby, how's it going? How is it going? Yeah, it's a thing. Hey, I'm going to try to do this. Yeah, he tested early on, but he must not have had enough stuff built up for the test to catch. Yeah, bummer for David. Well, it's not really, though, because by the time he tested positive, he was already starting to get over it. So he's still coughing and hacking up a storm, but yeah, so it hasn't been, terrible for him. All right, rich leather. But yeah, so I don't know. It was just a weekend, and now today is just a Monday. It's a capital M Monday. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're boosted and everything, Pendrake. I have a really good immune system in general. I haven't had a cold in 5 years. So if I get this one, it'll just be a testament to how virulent it actually is, right? If I get my first cold in 5 years. Oh no, I'm sorry to hear that, Ancient Marvel. Oh, sads. That's a sads. I'm so sorry. That's hard. And that's really early too. That makes it double hard. Hey, Valandar. Wow, it's been a long time, man. Yikes. I'm so sorry you had to live all that long time without power. That is so awful. Gosh, what is it? Everybody's turning up awful. Everybody had a bad weekend. I'm so sorry. I just had a busy, stressful weekend, and a plagued fiance weekend, not a crazy weekend. Some of you guys seem like you've had an awful weekend. All right, I think I'm actually going to go a little less. Yeah, I was using some serious yellow on this. So let's go back to our serious yellow. I was using sun, as I recall. So sun and rich leather. We're going to do our gold. We're going to try to get this guy done or close to it. Oh, yeah. Oh, so you got hit with the ice storm? February went hold my beer. Yeah. It was lulling us into a false sense of security, right? That's totally it. All right. We're going to mix up our NMM, also known as NMM, non-metallic metal colors, so that we can do the gold trim on a lot of his stuff. And we also need to figure out what the heck we're doing on the back here. I might just do something on the hem. I need to shake this up or I'm going to be sad. Oh, nice. That's good, Valandar. That's excellent. Hello, Shadow Raven. So 3 drops of sun yellow, 1 drop of rich leather. I'm going to add lantern yellow to these guys, as I am wont to do. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, Bob and Julie. That's a sad. They say that's the problem with getting older, right? Is that you go to a lot of funerals. That's a sad part. I'm not looking forward to I know my parents are getting older and that's just going to be horrible. So yeah, bad news all around. I'm sorry, everybody. You can get virtual hugs on this channel, though. Virtual hugs are available on this channel. Yes, the rat is very disgruntled. He's a very disgruntled rat. It's all good. Let me see. Glasses. Glasses would be good to paint things. Yeah, this guy's getting really close to done at this point. You can now see that he is almost there, especially on the front, right? We just have a bit of gold to handle, and then we need to figure out freehand on the back. But I think he's pretty, like on the front here, he's pretty good. And you can see the soft texture. See how his hat looks kind of soft? Like it's definitely not shiny. You can just see kind of a soft texture to it, and the same with the sleeve and down here. So that's what we were really going for here, is like softer cloth texture and not like super poppy highlights, but still we hit the highlights, right? So that's exactly what we're going for. And we've got our nice book. Let me get actually here into focuses. And then we've got our nice book. So really, yeah, the only thing we need to do at this point is to figure out our freehand on if we're going to do a gold freehand on the cape here. And we need to finish the gold on his hat and the gold on the bottom rim of the blue here. Since everything else is edged with gold, it does make sense to do like a black runic banner here across the bottom of the cape. So, but yeah, sounds like kind of a bummer of a day for a lot of people. So I'm sorry about that, everybody. Pop some water into all of these so that the ratio is like a 2.5 to 1 or a 2 to 1. Since everything is base coated, I don't need to have anything thicker than that. Yes, virtual hugs to everybody who wants a virtual hug. I don't know. February is at least short. But it's also short. So like I feel like I don't have enough time to get all my things done. Like I look at the schedule that I laid out for February and I'm like, what was I thinking? Obviously, I felt like I was on a roll the day I made this schedule. We're going to make a highlight. So let me show you how all of these are coming out. We have a 4 sun yellow and 1 drop of rich leather and 1 drop of lantern yellow. And this is all rich leather with a drop of lantern yellow, 4 drops of rich leather. This is a 2-2-1, so it's a 2 white, 2 sun yellow, 1 lantern. So it's a nice mellow highlight. So I've essentially made my own NMM triad here. And if you compare with the actual NMM triad that Reaper puts out, you will find it to be very similar to this. You'll find it a little darker on this end because I wanted it more utilitarian. In reality, I'm going to take another darker color and use that as a pentad, switch this to a pentad essentially. So instead of just the 3 colors of the triad, and this is something you want to do with most MSP triads. And they're made to be kind of just that color, but you could almost always throw another highlighted shadow on them unless the shadow is really dark or the highlight is really light. It is common to have a really dark shadow in some triads, but it's a lot less common to have a very light highlight because it's so easy to make a highlight by mixing white in that often I went for more of a mid highlight top for a lot of triads and not a super pale highlight. Silver Tongue, for a base coat, it's 4 to 1, 5 to 1. Everything after that, I default to around a 2 to 1, and then I thin from there. Now, this is just a starting ratio. I'm probably going to add more water. If I'm going to be layering, I'm almost definitely going to add more water. But a 2 to 1 is where I start out with MSP when I know I'm going to thin more, but a 2 to 1 is a pretty good layering ratio for paints that are a little more transparent, like maybe these guys. Once you get a paint that has a fair bit of white in it, you're going to have to add a lot more water than that. You're not going to be okay at 2 to 1. Not if you want no texture. So, and I'm not really doing, because these gold bits are so thin, I'm not really doing texture on them. I'm just doing the NMM. So yeah. So when I say 2 to 1, that's just my start. It's not my finish. 2 to 1 is kind of just a, hey, this paint is usable. And since I always do it 2 to 1, I know the ratio. So that means I know when I thin it, I know how much more I'm thinning it, right? Because if I'm starting, I'm like, oh, this is too thick. Well, I know it's already 2 to 1 and it's only 4 drops of paint. So if I add another 2 drops of water, it's going to be 1 to 1. So I just have these default ratios that I thin to when I start up. And that way it makes it easier for me to know what ratio I'm actually working at after I thin more. Does that make sense? Yeah. I have a free PDF on this, Silver Tongue. It goes along with the free class we did for Reaper. I did for Reaper Con when it was virtual in 2020. It's called Thinning MSP Paints. There is an 1.5-hour class. And then there is a free PDF on my Patreon, which is patreon.com/paintingbig. So if you go watch the video, it'll lay out ratios for you. I'll show you directly, essentially. I show you directly with blues, the ratios that I use for various techniques. And then I have a PDF that summarizes those. Now, like I said, it's all free. Because it's just really useful information to have when you're using MSP. So rather than, if you really want to know ratios for MSP, then just go and watch the video and go to the PDF. And Quindy has you there, linking to the thinning MSP paints and to my Patreon right above it in the thing. Yes, indeedy. Yeah, I did that class and because I wanted it to be free forever and available forever, because it's just too useful not to have it just be out there. So it will help you. And then you can kind of figure things out. All right, so I'm going to take my russet brown and I am going to put in my paint in my shadows. And I am actually not going to thin it more because I'm going to be probably going back over it as I go. So I'm not too concerned. If I can see brush strokes now on these little areas, I know I'm going to be highlighting. And so it doesn't matter so much. And I am also going to take that russet brown. This is a double groove. Like there are 2 strands of gold here. You can see them. So I'm going to be painting the russet in that groove, and I'm also just going to be painting it in the shadow areas. And the shadow areas, you can tell, be consistent. I've got a blue shadow here, so I obviously need a shadow in the gold right under that, in line with that blue shadow. Same here. We have a big shadow there, and then it kind of folds into the back, so that shadow in there. We're going to go over here, do the same thing. Pretty much going to put my shadows in first. This is often what I do. If I start with a base coat, I will block in shadows first, and then I will start playing with highlights. And then if I need to, I will further accentuate shadows if I find that my shadows are not dark enough, which used to be a big problem for me. Is becoming less of a problem as I push to do higher contrast paint jobs. It gives me a better gut instinct on how dark I am going. I know a lot of painters have problems with shadows. I think more people have problems with highlights as far as not, like, they don't push their highlights enough for the surface they're painting, depending. It's like people get a little timid. I used to be that way with reds. I was afraid I would lose the richness of the red that I was painting if I highlighted it more. In reality, I just needed to highlight it, but only keep my highlights very small so that the majority of the surface was still that rich red, and I was going to be just fine. But I didn't know that at the time. I didn't realize it until I started working with that stuff. I didn't realize it until I met a painter who did really good red, and then I was like, ooh, and then I was like, ah. And I was like, I can do this. But I need to push my highlights higher. And sometimes it just takes that. Sometimes it just takes you seeing somebody else get the effect that you wish you could get, and they're doing it differently than you, and then that opens up your mind to say, oh, maybe I can do this way. Maybe I can highlight red up to yellow or white and still have it look awesome. So now I'm bringing in that first highlight, which is a lot like NMM Gold Base, except in this case I mixed it with 4 drops of sun yellow and 1 drop of rich leather, and then a drop of lantern yellow to give it more of a rich yellow. So I'm just like going over the top of that to bring up that highlight. If you like red, you like red, Kernico. The only time I don't reach for red is if I'm doing purple and gold. So maybe you should do an and color scheme and paint something in purple, gold, and teal. Purple, gold, and turquoise. And then you can totally avoid red. It's a natural color scheme for avoiding red, actually. Oh, good, Carly. Yeah, I wouldn't have used those darker colors. You really want a richer brown, because if you use black, it's going to green out and really ash out. And walnut, people forget this, walnut has a lot of black in it. So you should never use walnut over yellow, any kind of yellow. Uh-oh, my back is getting a little oomph today. Don't do this, back. I rushed exercises a bit this morning because the day was just the day. Let's see here. Actually, yeah, I think I'm gonna stand up and stretch real quick. Just do a quick bend, and just to make sure that my back isn't. If my back is a little out of order, I don't want to exacerbate it by not stretching when it gave me a twinge there. Usually a twinge is a sign. Hi, 10X. Pardon me while I do a quick stretch. And then we will return to our minimums. Just a quick forward fold. Okay, a very long forward fold, but that's how I stretch out my back. There we go. Quick up stretch. There we are. Just a little bit of twinge on that. And it's like, usually my back is fine after I do my exercises in the morning, but we went a little fast today because things got chaotic. Ah, I see, Cornigo. You are painting a specific genre of thing. But if you're doing D&D models, this makes sense. If you're doing a fiery dungeon, it's like when you commit to like doing the Against the Giants, and you know you're going to be painting a crap ton of frost giants at some point, and you're going to be sick of blue by the end of it. Blue and gray. All right, so we'll just try to keep our back very nice today. I have my back pillow, but I have not used it for a while, so I'm kind of hoping I don't have to grab it. So we're just bringing this mid-tone color over here. And because there's these double strands of design, this is where I can kind of reach this highlight a little bit into where I put the shadow, just a little bit. And since there's a shadow band still going down the middle there, it's going to look more like it's blended and less like it's abrupt. If I do feel like I lose a little bit of the blended aspect, then I can bring my russet brown in a little bit and try to get that back. But I'm still going to put more highlights on this, so it's not super... on a tiny detail like this, it's not super important to be precise. As far as, you know, you shouldn't be aiming for a perfect blend on these little guys. It's tiny little details. If you get close, it's still going to look blended. Sometimes it's not actually blended, it's just the illusion of blended that you want, because, you know, that's about what it's worth as far as the area you're working on. You will often find yourself working on tiny areas that, you know... it just needs to be good enough. It needs to have the illusion that you want. And if you can hit that, you don't need to worry about getting it perfect. And of course, like back here, where it goes down into the base, you only have like one strand because the hem's kind of crumpled under over here. So you can't do that double at that point. Yeah, try to do something that takes you away from red just for a break. I definitely have color selections that I move toward. All right, so I feel like I could do a little stronger on this side. Remember that paint darkens as it dries. So when I put this on, you see it very fresh. But then as it dries, it becomes a lot more blended. See, now you really can't see that transition. So this is why I say don't if your colors are mixed the right distance apart from each other as far as how far they differentiate light to dark, then you should get a blended effect even without actually trying to blend. This is got some globby detail from the sculpt here right here. But I'm not going to stop and clean it up. This model will probably go to Ron. He probably already has a painted one anyway. So I'm not going to stress too much about tiny details that might be a little muddy. All right, now let's bring up the next highlight on this. Yeah, except that on frost stuff, I also tend to use red as an accent, either red or purple. Because a dark red with a gray blue always looks good, especially if you've got gold on it too. Although for frost giants, because red is such a fire giant color, I do tend to go more toward purple at that point. All right, so next highest highlight, and now we'll start to pop this. And this is this bright yellow right here. Because this is such a small area, you don't need to do a lot of different colors. I mean, we're doing a pentad because it's NMM. And that's how I tend to like to roll with NMM. But you could probably get this NMM done in 4 colors if you had to, because it's such a tiny area. And in truth, there's not a lot of midtone showing here anymore. It's just like the midtone as my shadow has been glazed over it. I was going to say, I thought Kroniko was a her, but it's the internet, so who knows? I'm sure that somebody in the chat is actually a golden retriever sneaking onto the internet while its family is busy. Like, you know, there's got to be one of those somewhere. Like, you can just never tell on the internet. It could be your friend or it could be your friend's dog. There we go. So now I've got some brighter color coming up. I want to carry this actually down a little bit more here because this edge really flares out. So we get more yellow. That looks nice. Crowley, have I guessed your secret? In which case you should not be. You should not be a proponent of coffee, because coffee and a golden retriever, oh my god. Like, no, just don't go there. That does not need to be in the world. Your friend's dog might also be your friend. This is true, however. Speaking about like weirdness on the internet, the other day I was trying to set up a new account on Facebook to be my author my author page, because I don't want that under my personal page. And I want an actual like Facebook page. I don't just want a business page, because that's no fun and weird for an author. And Facebook was like, hey, somebody else created an account that used your phone number. Are you okay with that? And they just like, you can just say, yep, I'm okay with that. And they're like, okay. It's really funny. Like, I wish that a lot of these platforms, I think, are kind of short-sighted, and I'm waiting for the platform that realizes that many of us compartmentalize our lives, especially if you have yourself, but then you've also got your business or your sole proprietorship or your something. You have a different identity. I've got many different identities, and just having one account, but the ability to, like Gmail does, like to switch back and forth. I wish. Caffeinated Labs or Golden Retrievers. Caffeinated Lab. Okay, that's an awesome band name. Someone has to go out there and make Caffeinated Lab. It should be like death metal or like super speed folk or something. But it needs Caffeinated Lab. Needs to be a band. No, they aren't Kerniko. I'm just always so amused, though. It's like I hadn't really done this before, because although I made a Facebook page for Painting Big, I ended up just not using it. It didn't make a lot of sense, because you guys are all on, you're on Discord, or you're on Twitch, or you're on YouTube, or you're on, you've got plenty of platforms. And I was like, much as my mini painter friends are on Facebook, I'm just going to share my mini painting on my regular page, because they're all friended me on there anyway. But yeah, for the writer stuff, I definitely wanted to get a new page that just was writing, so that I'm not spamming any writing fans with miniatures stuff. And it was just funny, because it's just like, hey, somebody else is using your phone number. Do you mind? And I'm like, nope. And they're like, okay. You're right. It is a Facebook thing, and I'm glad that they are okay with it, because otherwise, how could I make this, account for my writer business? But it's just, I don't know. It struck me as funny at the time. The weirdness of our digital society, especially for somebody like me, who's an entrepreneur, who's doing, a couple of different creative endeavors, right? So then it gets just weird. It just gets weird. Yeah, Mach 5 tail wag. Yeah, see? There you go. Yeah, speed folk. That's right. Zoomy rock. Zoomy rock. I like that. Yes. Somebody needs to do it. Caffeinated Lab. If you know anybody who like is a musician, tell them we need to put this out on the interwebs. Somebody needs to just tweet it, get it out there. Everybody would enjoy that discussion. Alrighty, so we've got that nice yellow bit there, and see how much that makes everything pop out. But it doesn't look shiny yet, and the only thing that will make this look shiny is the addition of Pure White. The first hit song, the Mach 5 tail wag, or the Zoomy rock. Yeah. We could probably put together a great list of songs. Like the Broken Heart song would be She Left Me and She Took My Bone, All the Treats Are Gone would be another one. Oh, come on, guys. You can do this. What are some more song titles? Give me some more song titles for Caffeinated Lab. We need the rock. We need the ballad. What's the ballad? Is the ballad All the Treats Are Gone? I don't think you get much crossover with fuzzy land mammals and radioactive sea entities. That's just me, though, wanting to keep my worlds apart. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Nuclear Krill has something to do with Caffeinated Lab, but I don't think so. I think Caffeinated Lab is its own thing. I think All the Treats Are Gone is definitely the rock ballad, though. Rock and Roll Over. That would be great. That's a good one. Rock and Roll Over. Let's see. Let's see. You guys are obviously all busy this morning and unable to think of additional song titles for Caffeinated Lab. I swear I'm going to go to Twitter after this. And I'm just going to put it out there. Okay. So that bright white highlight, especially now, if you blend in your white highlight, then it's going to look more satiny. But if you do a pop of pure white, that's just like a dot, that is going to bring out the shine. See? So how you apply your white to your NMM has a direct effect on how shiny the surface looks. Red Links, we decided that Caffeinated Lab has to be a band name, and that Mach 5 Tail Wag and Rock and Roll Over and All the Treats Are Gone is like are like some of our 3 song titles, but people are coming up like short on other song titles, so I think I'm going to go to Twitter. We have to fill out an album here. Like, we're not just doing an EP. We got to get an album. That's a good one. Not as catchy, but it'll work. That's one of the songs that like maybe you get to like after you listen to it for a while, instead of the song that pounces you immediately and makes you love the album. Some albums are like that. Let's see here. Okay, so now we got to do hat. Hat. We've got all that gold. We've got to do hat, and we've got to figure out... I've got to kind of fix the back here. It didn't get all... Howling for You All Night Long. That's a good one. Don't just do dog titles, guys. It's got to be a mashup of like a rock band song title and a dog thing. Those are the best things. 10X, this is Reaper. It is Bones USA. You definitely want to get it in Bones USA because Bones USA is a lot like resin. It's a super high quality plastic with great detail. So Darius the Blue, 30,002 is the item number, and it's in Bones USA. So Reaper. Reaper. On this show, we only do Reaper minis. On my Saturday show, I'm often working on other stuff. Usually competition or gifts or projects for me on Saturday. But here it is all Reaper all the time, baby. My baby called me bad. Perfect, Reimer. Perfect. That's awesome. That's great. Oh, I love it. Yeah. Oh, Cat Scratch Blues. Yeah, that's getting there. That's getting there. It's like Cat Scratch Fever, right? Just gotta dig. Oh, Cold Nose, Warm Heart. Oh, that's a good one too. You guys are getting it now. Oh, you guys are getting it. Yeah, this is great. Somebody make a playlist quick. Super fantastic. I love this. This needs to be a thing. Yeah, I gotta get that hand adjusted up there. So this is on top, so I definitely don't want as dark a shadow, but I need to pop the highlights up on that hand. Type bone negative. Oh, that's terrible, Cranston. I like typo negative. Oh, Gurnico, that's terrible. That could be so questionable. Julia Trent, we decided that Caffeinated Lab has to be a band name, and then we were making up songs that dogs would make if they were a rock band. So we're making up song titles that are both like real song and the doggy take on the real song. There are some really good ones so far. I like Cold Nose, Warm Heart, and Mach 5 Tail Wag, and Rock and Roll Over. And My Baby Called Me Bad. Those are the best ones so far, I think. Those are fantastic. That one's a little bit, it needs to be a little bit better, a little bit more creative, Carly. Let's think about it. Because that's like a human saying, right? So, another pee on the wall. I did think there has to be a pee song in there somewhere, Max. Since My Owner Left. Yes, that's a good one too. That's a good one too. Oh, I love this. We could just go. We could just roll this. This is fantastic. Well, you know, a bunch of us were having kind of a sad Monday, so you gotta pick it up, and this is a good pick me up. This is super fun and funny. If you had a band full of caffeinated dogs, what would your song list be? Maybe Ball Chasing Blues. No, it's Caffeinated Lab. The band name is actually Caffeinated Lab. Because caffeinated, that was what started this whole thing, is that we decided that Caffeinated Lab had to be a band name. Like the minute somebody like brought it up, it had to be a band name. So that's the name of the band. So we're really just looking for like songs. I think somebody's done that Linkin Park song pun before, though. I mean, the idea of a dog band has definitely been brought up before. Oh, double anniversary for Dogfather. Or double subiversary. Hold on, I missed it. 1 second, 1 second, 1 second. I have to see it or it's not real. 1 second. Once Penny of the Squirrelsy Curator. There we go. All right, I see it now. Double subiversary, double subiversary, double subiversary. Happy double subiversary. There we go. For the Dogfather and Dogfather, what's your idea of? Oh, that's a terrible one. Good boy, better be. Oh dear, that's good, Oubliette. I'm not going to say it on stream, but it's good. Oh man. What about it, Dogfather? If there was a dog rock band called Caffeinated Lab, what's your idea for a song title? We've got so many good ones so far. Daffodil, 28 months. Nice. Well, since my owner left me, I found a new place to dwell. Down at the end of the living room. No, he got to rhyme it with dwell though. That's the challenge. That's the challenge if you're doing lyrics. Although that's promising. We could work with that. All right, so we're doing some NMMs. Since we're doing our NMMs, it's been entertaining to do this dog song thing. Trying to think of other good song names. Problem is that these days a lot of people are like, it seems like creativity in song names is at a premium. It's like a lot of like, I miss you, and you know, love this, and you know. There we go. I just had a line outside of this. This one is a little bit mucky on the cast, and so. Oh, okay. You have fried brain? All right. That's fair. Well, okay, here's the thing. What's your most hyper dog's favorite thing? Dogfather. Think of your most hyper dog. What is their favorite thing? Or your favorite thing they do? ball. I'll have to come up with some ball songs. I need to remember the inside of the sleeve. See, the inside of the sleeve is sneakily sitting here. And remember what I said about viewing angles. This guy definitely has like 3. He has 3, maybe. Only because of the book. So normally this guy would have 1 viewing angle, 2 viewing angles. But because of the book, above is also a viewing angle on this guy. But this is not a viewing angle. So even when you're painting, you could forget to do the inside of the sleeve. Trying to think of a good song to play off of ball. Squirrel, you've really got me going. That's good. Oh, Quantum. Boom, bing, 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 bing. Perfect. Squirrel, you've really got me going. That's fantastic. Oh, I love it. I love it. That's so clever. Quantum, gold star. Gold star. You guys are so awesome. Tennis ball blues that one works. That one works. Squirrel, you really got me going. I'm just gonna laugh at that one for the rest of the day. Especially because I'm looking out my window here and seeing these squirrels and knowing that the puppy is probably gonna be like crouched by that door. We've got a glass door off of the hobby room, and it's like dog TV out here. Seriously. So I'm just going to really concentrate on highlighting the bottom part of this because that's where the light's going to come down really and hit. Because see how it flares out? So if you're going to highlight any part of the interior of this sleeve, it really should be like, as far as your highest highlights, they need to come down here. You should bring your highlights up a little bit up the side, but not a lot. Because it is an interior, so it's not going to have a lot, even if it is gold braid or gold thread. It's not going to have a lot of light here on the interior, but I can bring it up a little bit just so you can see the fade. Oh yeah, Basenji puppy. Oh, you guys get ready. Like, now firmly wedged is squirrel. You really got me going. My fault. You better bet, Julia, that when my new puppy gets here, oh my god, it's on. Because I'm going to be like using a new training method for the puppy that pretty much starts on day 1. So it'll be fun. I'll probably do it on as a little YouTube series. Because we need more, for my breed, we need more content for our YouTube channel. And I'm like, when I get a new puppy, I could do some things. I just need a GoPro. Because I'm not going to be able to drag David out into the yard to like film me and the puppy doing training. But Basenjis are cute. I like them. I think that people forget that they're hunting dogs. They look like they should have like a different temperament. Like I'm always surprised at how serious they can be. Yes, Quantum, it's our fault. Yeah, sure wants to get out with the birds, I bet. Yeah, our birds have enough problems out here with crows and stuff and disease. I don't really want to like if I had a cat, I would not want to contribute to the plunge of the songbird population in this area. All right, so we've got that. So now we've got kind of a highlight, we've got kind of a blend. So now we're going to bring in our white. Yep. Yeah, Basenjis are cool. Yeah, if she's got an experience with the breed, that's great. I knew a Basenji breeder when I was in Denton. There was a Basenji breeder who was actually involved with the project to bring over fresh blood from Africa, from the indigenous Basenji population, which was really interesting. Because they were getting a genetic diversity issue, they felt, here in the States, and that was one of the roads open to them, was to go directly back to the source. And when you're a landrace breed, and landrace breed means that you actually have a wild or semi-wild or original population, like Salukis in Arabia. And there are a few landrace breeds, like Samoyeds. So you have that option then to go back to your original roots and still be inbreed, but get maybe very different genetics. All right, so a little bit of light there, and maybe a pop down here. And if you're thinning your white, it'll come off as more of a pale yellow. It won't come off as pure white because you're layering it over this yellow. Now I feel like I need to bring that up a little bit or knock it down. It got a little bit too broad and a little bit too bright. So I'm going to bring in my mid-tone and dull it down just a little bit. That's better. Hey, Lady Kachara. But yeah, Basenjis are adorbs. I do like them. They're one of the breeds I like. There are very few short-haired breeds that I like a lot, but I like Basenjis and Whippets. Whippets are just sweet little dogs. There's a guy who walks his Vizsla out. All of the people in our neighborhood who have purebred dogs that are more obscure, like, are always super surprised when I'm like, oh, is that a Vizsla? Is that a Cannon dog? Is that a, they're all like, rrr? They probably get tons of questions of, what is your dog? My upbringing in my 4-H dog training project, has put me in good stead to recognize tons of different breeds of dogs when I meet them. Yeah, part of me is not looking forward to the sleep deprivation part of having a puppy, but I guess I will just muddle through. Bringing up highlight a little bit here, and then down at the bottom. There we go, that's better. Now we can see kind of a curl. I haven't seen a hawk ever in this area. Not near our house anyway. All right, so last bit of gold, other than figuring out what we want to do with freehand down here on the cape, is the hat. The hat is weird because it's kind of an inverted cone, right? It's not just straight-sided, it actually cuts under. And that means that we're not going to quite highlight it the same way we might otherwise. So the only part, the brim up here, is going to catch the light. But anything down here is going to be just reflected light. Like, if you're going to suggest a top highlight, it's really going to be there, up on that top edge, right in line with where your brightest highlight here is going up the front of the hat. Then we're going to go and drop back down to our mid-tone. And kind of blend in some more yellow tones, but just a little bit. And I definitely want a shadow too, but I'm not going to put it. I'm going to put a little line of it. Good. Noted, Lady Kachara. Excellent. Yeah, even if you don't paint along with that model, the stuff that you learn on that can help you with other models. I think that all the paint alongs are like that. I'm really looking forward to the bust that we're going to be doing. Because once you watch a paint along with a certain type of model, like you pick up a lot of just technique stuff. And then if there's like specific stuff, like when we do the boot leather, you can, you know, learn a lot about how you do boots in general, not just that model's boots. So yeah, I feel like all this is going to be really good. The next model we're doing for 28mm has a lot of armor, so that's going to be a different thing than we've done on a paint along so far. So I grabbed a little bit of black and brown and russet brown. I'm just doing this a little bit of shadow right under the edge there. And I'm going to blend that in with some rich leather. I am going to be doing a series for the Patreon for the $10 tier coming up about cylinders. This is actually a cylinder, just like the hat is a cylinder. It's a cone, but you treat it a lot the same. But I'm going to do a couple of things on highlighting a sphere and a cylinder. I'm going to do a short series. I'm actually going to grab a Space Marine to do it because their shoulder pads are essentially like quartered spheres and their legs are all cylinders, and it's really easy to show the difference between shiny and not shiny and how to highlight those surfaces. So purely for technical, I think David has one sitting around somewhere. I don't have any. I might have an ancient like Games Day type of, you know, promotional model Space Marine somewhere, but I'm more of an alien type of girl. I'm a Xenos girl, so I have a lot of Eldar, and they're not nearly as good for showing shapes. Ah, good. Yeah, we did both red and black hair on that one, Lady Kachara. So, and I think we do a different sort of red on our elf bust. Oh dear, Nanomazik, yeah. Yeah, I saw peregrines in Texas a lot, and I love seeing peregrine falcons. They're beautiful. And a lot of chicken hawks and red tails. Here, I get to see a vulture really up close. Like, I found it. I wonder if I still have that picture. Maybe I don't. I'm gonna check. He or she was on the back of a lawn care cart, and I thought that he or she must have like maybe there was a dead something in the cart. Let's see if I can find it quick. Then I'll show it to you. If I can't find it quick, then I won't. Oh, there he is. He, she. I don't know how to tell, but he was right there, like black vulture. Very pretty bird. Like just really pretty feather markings, and was giving me the eye definitely to see if I was gonna. But must have been something in that cart because that vulture did not want to move. Like I was right next to it practically, and it did not want to move. It was just hopping around on the back of the truck gate. Big bird too. Like you don't realize how big they are until you're close to them. Lots of NMM stuff. Tenex at different scales. If you just search, I have keywords. I use keywords a lot. For each entry, I try to put at least 4 or 5 keywords in it if I can. So if you search for like gold NMM or steel NMM or stuff like that, you should come up with something. I'm trying to kind of fill out. Like I feel like I did some NMM on a bust, on a Viking bust, and I feel like I'm a little dissatisfied with those, so I would like to do more NMM large scale videos. But I have a really good small PDF on NMM, steel NMM, on a Dark Sword Warrior. So that's one to look for if you're looking for like armor. I did the breastplate and stuff, and the thighs and stuff like that, and the helmet. But since I do a lot of NMM, since it's often my preferred metal treatment, especially on tiny models like 28s, there is a fair amount, as I recall. And there's also videos where like I kind of cover that along with some other things. So, all right, I'm gonna do the back. First things to do are front and back on a cylinder. You also, light often can go in bands on a cylinder, so like every cardinal direction should get a highlight. And this is a very small miniature, so... we were talking about animals watching out the back, about dog and cat TV out in our yards. So I was showing them a picture of a big vulture that I met on my walk back in December. I haven't seen a lot of hawks around here. If I go into the city, apparently I can see parrots because there's a wild, like it used to be domesticated flock that is no longer. And some of those birds were probably born wild, so I don't need this white to be quite as wide as it is. So I'm setting up, see here on this NMM, I'm doing kind of the opposite. I'm kind of setting up my highlights, and then I'm working around. Yeah, you missed the dog rock band completely. But we can't get any more songs stuck in anybody's heads, so we should be good. Yeah, there were a lot of vultures in Texas, but I never got that close to one as I did here in Cali. It was cool. Like, I was a little bit leery because I'm just like, hey, vulture, don't think I'm gonna like steal your lunch or stuff. You know, let's keep this civil. That's pretty cool. It makes sense that, I mean, the parrots are like all pretty, right? And it's like these bright colored birds that other climates don't have. So it makes sense that they would trade them if they had them. I'm going to put a brighter highlight right here on the front. All right, I dulled down most of the other highlights. I'm just checking to see what I've got here. I think I made that one a little bit off center. Vulture harpy, neat. That'd be kind of cool to paint my Ignis art harpy bust. Or sorry, she is a harpy, I guess. But to paint her like a vulture would be kind of cool, actually. And probably much different than most other people have painted her. Let's see. Just trying to kind of look top down to go, all right, so main highlight there, side highlight here, other highlight there, other highlight here, a little bit off center on that one. Trying to essentially hit all the cardinal points around the top of the hat to place my highlights. Not all of them will be as bright. The front highlight should still be the brightest with the light direction. Yes, they will barf as a defense mechanism. Yep. They will be like, I did not want to get barfed on, so I was trying to be extremely nice to the vulture while still going past it on the sidewalk. So happily I did not get vulture barfed on, although that would be a great story, but probably gross as anything. Luckily it was very close to home, so if I had experienced that particular set of vulture behavior, I could have quickly run home to clean off. This would have been a downer and totally disrupted my walk, so I'm kind of glad the vulture decided I was not that much of a threat. Put in some shadows, more shadows. pigeon that looks sick. Yeah. People. City people with no knowledge of like wild birds. But you can't blame them. I mean, there's plenty of holes in my knowledge base with things that, you know, experiences that just aren't common where I am. Bjark. Yeah, well, you know, kids, I don't blame the vulture. Those kids are never going to forget that vulture. Ever. Let's see here. Got about a half an hour left. So I'm just tuning this. Essentially what I'm trying to do is I want the light's coming from here. You can see that from the hat. So I want my white highlight here. Then you're going to get a white highlight about halfway around, except it's going to be a much softer white highlight, not as bright. Probably I'll keep it at a pale yellow actually. And then you're going to have reflected light on the back. So opposite from the forehead, I need to mock in this highlight a little bit more. And that's how cylinders tend to rock, is they tend to have like, and it depends on like where they are. Like this vertical cylinder is a little bit more difficult, but in general, it's reading well here with the light, a little bit of shadow under it, a reflected light above his eyebrows, and then shadows to either side. And that's kind of what you're looking for. And if you do it this way, the reason to do the NMM this way is that it will look good from then every angle. It'll look consistent from every angle. I'm sure there are falcons and hawks around. I just tend to not see them in this. There's enough wildland or enough like coastland and pastureland that I don't see them in town. I see a lot of falcons and hawks when we go out, like if we drive down the coast, down to Monterey. There's a lot of room for them. Not a lot of dense urban population. Yeah, I would have to look up the etymology of a word, that word, right? I forget if it's etymology or entomology. I always do. I should probably make a little trick to remember that by. Alrighty, so let's get us some highlights here on the side. So again, the reflected light's not going to be real strong here, but he does have white hair, so there will be some. And at 28 millimeter, you're really generalizing this. If this was a bust, we could go far more lifelike with that, with the reflected NMM light. But it's not a bust, so we're not. So there's a lot of ways where if you just paint 28s, your NMM is going to stay a lot simpler. You're going to fudge a lot more. You're going to be able to fudge a lot more. You're going to be able to not be perfect with it and still have it read okay at this scale, just because there's a limit on what you can do at this scale. Ah, okay. Ant to ant. Good. Etymology. Correct. Okay. So my first instinct was correct. Etymology. My second word was incorrect. So I should remember to follow my gut. Ent and ant is a good way to remember. Thanks. It's not a word I use a lot, so. When you write fantasy fiction, it doesn't come up a lot. Oh, nice, Vic. Yeah, I've seen bald eagles in the wild when I went up to southwest Canada, but I haven't seen a lot. I haven't been in an area Just see a lot outside there. I did see one when I was in, trying to remember, it was a weird place, but yeah, I've only seen a few in the wild. Yeah, whereas I don't. I have a math nerd. So I hear about algorithms. my significant other nerdishness is math nerdishness. And sometimes advertising nerdishness, which actually does benefit me as I look at, publishing my books. So but today is miniatures day. I'm going to be working on, I started work on my $2 video and my $0, my pre-YouTube video the other day. So I'm going to continue that and get it put together for y'all who are my patrons. And a big thank you to all my patrons. I've gotten a lot of new patrons lately. Like, this weekend was crazy. End of last week and this weekend. So I'm really happy. Welcome, everybody, if any of you are here watching this. There we go. Just a little bit of under reflection on the back. I'm going to bring that up just a little bit more. Oh, I believe it, Shadow Raven. Yeah, David always saw them, and he grew up in Seattle. Yeah, that is a pretty awesome comeback. I do like that the world is generally seems to be getting more conscious of stuff before we completely destroy it. So things like wild animal population comebacks are always good to hear about. So a little bit more of an under reflection there, but I've lost a bit of my shadow. Remember when you're doing NMM, is always an alternation between light and shadow. It is only the contrast between light and shadow that allows you to suggest a shiny surface. If you do not have that contrast between dark shadow and bright highlight, you will not have it look shiny. It just will not work. Flat out. And I think I need to look at the front. Yeah, okay. To expand a little. Good, crows. Yay, thanks. You can be hyper here, lady. You're cool. I am the opposite of hyper today. I'm trying to be focused. Set some pretty big goals for myself this week, so I need to focus on them with laser intensity, like a hunting mountain lion stalking an antelope. There we go. Got that a little bit. Let's see. We do have some time to map out some freehand. I do want a little bit of highlight over here. So you kind of want to blend them in from highlight to shadow to highlight to shadow. A little less on the sides. Not a lot of room here on this hat, so this hat brim, so we're kind of fudging here and there. Yes, that's very good. There we are. Good enough, I think. Good enough. Yes. All right. Let's see here. Let's do a cool loopy border. I'm not even gonna use a photo reference this time. I'm just gonna do something straight up freehand. Just cause. So I don't want it along the bottom. I want it north of the bottom. I'll kind of block it in. Boop. Kind of goes in a little wavy pattern. That's cute. I like that. And it's really only going to be on this part, since it's overlapped by this blue. You won't be able to see what's underneath that, which gives us the freedom to not worry too much about what we do. We only have to do it on this one space. So it's just going to make a kind of a little bit. Got to make sure I keep to the wave pattern here. I'm just going to fill it in with curlicues and cool stuff, because why not? But I'm going to trim it up first. So since I'm just blocking it in, I can take some dark color and narrow these down a little bit if I want to. Just kind of trim them up a little bit. Want to refine and make sure I've got a good starting point before I start filling in this area. So you don't want to load a lot of white on your brush, or you get what I got that first time, and you get a very wobbly, blobby line. So usually when you're blocking in freehand, you want to get as much paint off your brush as you can so you get a very neat line. Much neater. Okay, so we've got a nice border that we've etched out that's more or less consistent. You could maybe widen this a little bit. So figure out what your border of your freehand is going to be, and then fill it in. So we're going to fill it in next. 31 months, Trashorama. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. Just kidding. Thank you. Thank you for helping and contributing to the Reaper Stream Fund. There we are. All right, so I raised that line up a little bit so everything would be equal, so that would be good. And now I have to think about what I want to do with the design here. I think I want to go kind of geometric. He's a wizard. He has a rat. I don't think I want to like focus on ratty designs, though. I think I just want to do some cool stuff. So maybe I'll do, if we're going to do okay, so here, let's just talk a little bit about freehand. If you're going to do a repetitive design, like a Norse rune or something here that you intend to repeat across the surface, you want to make sure that in one of your big blank, very visible spaces, not in the middle of a fold or wherever, but really, really clearly, you can do that rune on a big space. And the reason is that if you can do a very clear version of that repetitive design anywhere on a cape, even if the other ones are kind of like halved or quartered, or they're dipping in and out of folds, and none of the others are absolutely clear, if you have that one clear rune, then it's going to read. People will be fine. They'll understand that it's the same rune. I don't want to do that today, but just wanted to talk about that real quick. And I talk about that actually in one of my earliest freehand PDFs, which is the one with the Dark Sword Dwarf, where I was using a Nordic rune, I believe, as part of the design, or I was using a geometric design. And as long as you've got one space on your cape where you can clearly see that design, then the rest of the cape can be all over the place and, you know, going in and out of folds so that the viewer can only see part of a rune or part of the design at any given time, but it will still work. I think I want to do kind of a weird... I want to kind of do a weird fill-in design rune-y thing. I don't know. I'm just gonna start with a funky thing and do something with it. I don't know. I'm gonna widen this border. I did decide. So I'm gonna widen this. Then we're gonna start with that weird C, and maybe I'll do like cool lines, and maybe I'll do a funky curve and make that curve go into here. Mostly I just want to fill the space in and then just do it in gold. So I'm like gonna just look for interesting shapes, and I'm gonna doodle. In short, I'm gonna doodle all over this cape, and we're gonna make it into cool looking freehand, because freehand does not need to be about anything. It can just be your paint doodles. And chances are, if you do pretty cool doodles, you could do pretty cool paint doodles as freehand, and everybody will be impressed. So your freehand does not need to be a particular thing. Especially with a druid or a wizard or a sorcerer, you can get away with just like doodles because they look like magical, you know, runes or stuff. So who cares if you don't know the meaning behind it? Maybe it has a meaning. Maybe it's a magical symbol. Who knows? Who cares? All right. So I'm going to fill out this line first a bit, and then I'm going to go back and fill in that start of a doodle. I'm going to thicken up my lines, and I'm going to play off of what I used there to continue to doodle in this kind of vein. Okay, I have to ask, why flying barn doors? I'm gonna extend this. Do another fan of lines. See if I can make this all work together. And I don't have a lot of room here either down here, so if I do a repeated motif, I need to keep in mind that I don't have a lot of room to be real elaborate with it. I think I didn't quite go right where I wanted there. That's gotten too blorfy. Too blorfy. And I think I'm going to do fewer. So now I need to grab my, let me get a little thicker on my dark color here. If I'm going to be using it to correct, I need it to be the same dark that the cape is. So if I'm going to correct my blorfy freehand, and if I'm just freewheeling like this, I will often block out something and then go back and change it. So for here, I think these three maybe is a little bit too much, or they're not spaced out well enough, so I'm going to go back and redraw them. It's just 3 little lines, so it's not a big deal. Really big, thick wingspan. Got it. So I'm grabbing more of my white, which is still thinned only, it's 2 to 1. 2 to 1's a pretty good freehand mapping thinness. It's opaque enough to let you draw like a line that's not terribly solid, so you can still adjust it. I'm going to run the design right off the end. I'm going to come back and do my little fins again, but I'm going to do one more layer over that and really cover them up. There, all right, that covered them up. We'll come back and do a little bit more. So we'll maybe have just one more day on this guy. I still need to shade and highlight the Ratty's pink parts. I'll need to trim up and make this NMM in, or make this freehand. I'll have to finish the freehand and make it into gold freehand. Still have a little bit of highlighting to do on the cape back here. So we do have some things to do on this guy next time. Oh, and of course painting just the base. So we do have definitely stuff to do. So we need to go for another 5 minutes. So I'll redraw my little thingies. Try to make them a little more equal distant. Drawing them with a little bit of a finer line this time so that I can, if you draw them with a fine line, then you can essentially widen them to either direction, which gives you wiggle room. So once we've got kind of a pleasing line pattern, we're just gonna take the opportunity to thicken up some of our lines, because these first thin lines are just sketches. If we like it, then we go back over it with more white to kind of set the pattern in. And I think I want to curve under a little. Need to make sure that I'm going up to my border. We're just bringing in real fine. To fill in space. So your goal is to fill in the space. Fill in the space with a pretty doodle. That's pretty much our goal. So that's cool. And we'll fade a shadow down into this this fold when we do shading and highlighting. Let's see here. I'm going to make this come back. But I think I want it to go a little lower. Make sure your negative space stays consistent. You want for this to look like really like a fill-in pattern where your eye isn't drawn to any particular part over another. you want your lines to be about the same width, and you want really your negative space to be. Like you want each line to be kind of the same distance from the bottom border. So that's something that I can still tune and clean up as we go, as I get the design itself mapped in. And sometimes we can vary up our design a little. We can connect our design like we did there, and then bring up that part. So now we're filling in this space very well. It's pretty equal. I've got a little bit of space here that I could fill in by giving that little finishing line a bit of a knob at the end, or a hook. That will fill in that area, and now everything looks well spread out and equal. And all I'm doing is making like little feathers with quills coming off of them, or little lines with other lines coming off of them. And I'm just going kind of randomly and just making sure that I'm filling in all the space, just like if you were doodling. So never let anybody tell you that all the doodling you might have done in school while listening to your teacher drone on was a waste of time. You can use this skill to make awesome freehand on your miniatures. Little did you know. All right, so yeah, make sure your lines are around the same thickness, unless you're thickening them on purpose to create like kind of the ending of other lines. So already I'm establishing kind of a criteria for this design, where if a line ends in space, often it is thickened, and lines connect to other parts of other designs. Most designs are one line with other lines coming off of them. They curve or they angle. There's no real rule about whether the line should curve or angle, but even my angled line is curving. So as you like doodle, it helps if you kind of like look at what you're doing and say, okay, so everything I do then is going to be a line that is probably springing off of another design, and then is going to have more lines springing off of it. And if you keep, then once you've got kind of a feel for how your design is going, and you make that sort of kind of guideline, your freehand will look like it all belongs together, even though you're doodling. So now that I've got this, I look at what I've done and I'm like, all right, every time I end a line, I'm going to try to thicken at least a little the end of the line, if I can. And when I go to do a new line, I'm going to connect it somehow to my old line. So if I go over here and I decide I want to fill in this last bit, I'll probably connect it from the bottom here and bring it up. Though I haven't quite decided, because this does change direction a lot. So I'm kind of thinking, okay, where? And if I want to, I can decide it doesn't connect, and I can just do a parallel line, which is perfectly okay. So let's try that. Because I'm running out of room fast over here, so this would be the last big line. And if I just make this echo this curve that I started with there, I won't have much room to extend back into over here, because part of this is the overlapping cape. And a lot of this is going to be obscured behind the cape flap. And then if I want to, I could connect these both down here or up here by another line if I did want to, continue to connect. But I think I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to go opposite with my little strands, little lines coming off of it. I'm going to go opposite this direction. If you start repeating your pattern too much, like all of your little things go in the same direction with the same curve, then you'll start like creating an expectation of that in the viewer. And if you depart from it, your viewer will be like, that looks wrong. So I want to not do that. And so instead of going out in like this way, opposite a mirror image of that, I'm going to actually go the other way entirely. Hello, Cajun Beauty. Oh, gifts, and you're extending your gift subscription. Very nice. 3 months. Thank you. I'm doing freehand. I was just doodling. I'm doodling on the model. And earlier we did, we finished out our gold on his trim. And then this will be gold too, but we don't have the time to both map it in and fill it in today, so. And I think we're about done. I think next time I'm going to finish filling out the freehand. I'm going to put a little tiny frond in here to remind myself of where I was going though, since it'll be a week or more. So let's just map in our little lines here. And then I can even take this one and make it into a new line. And do a little, actually we can map it in. I have an idea now. If I didn't have an idea, I'd be like, you know, no, but we are. Okay. Just random, lots of little random things. So that all looks like it belongs together, and then we have to kind of trail it off into here. This is both, since this is both cloth and it's kind of where the cape is going, so I don't want to extend too far into it. Just a little bit. We'll fade that out. And I'm going to touch that up next time we come together, but in general, this is how it's coming together. It's fun to do this kind of thing, and it can look nice. And as I said, you don't have to, if you can theme it. I mean, if you have an idea, you can certainly theme it to the type of wizard you've got, right? So I could have done little mouse faces if I really wanted to, but I didn't want to go quite there. So instead I went with a randomized pattern, which is just as valid as anything else. All right, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in. Sorry for the late start, but at least we could run a little late today. Do we have a Rhonda Beyond the Kit later, Quindy? And tomorrow we are back to Ye Old Big Guy, where we are starting with to pull the verdigris in on the feet. So we're getting real close on Big Gollum. Pretty soon it'll be time for another big mini. All right, so we will have a Beyond the Kit. So everybody say hi to Rhonda and have a great day. I hope your Mondays improve for those who are not having stellar Mondays. And we'll see you tomorrow for Bronze Gollum. All right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Bye-bye.